There's a systematic effort to deprive Black and brown people of our right to vote as we move towards the 2022 election. It jeopardizes democracy for us all. It's a threat to that democracy, and we must rise up at this point and take extraordinary action.
Hi, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. I'm Michael Steele, in for Nicole Wallace. Buckle up. Congressman Hank Johnson, just a short time ago, sounding the alarm on the attack on our nation's democracy from the growing number of measures that have limited access to the ballot box being enacted across the country. Johnson was arrested yesterday after taking part in a rally and standing outside the Senate Hart building with protesters, demanding the Senate take action to protect the right to vote. Johnson tweeted a video of him and others chanting while their hands were bound with zip ties and paid homage to another Georgia representative, writing, "I was arrested today protesting against Senate inaction on voting rights legislation and filibuster reform. In the spirit of my dear friend and mentor, the late Congressman John Lewis, I was getting in #good trouble." Johnson was the second House Democrat detained in just a week. Last Thursday, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty of Ohio was also arrested by the U.S. Capitol Police for demonstrating for voting rights. These protests come as the assault on the right to vote in this country only mounts. According to new numbers from the Brennan Center for Justice, 30 restrictive laws have been passed across 18 states since the beginning of this year. And there's new reporting on the efforts in Texas to hold an Arizona-style audit of its own, despite officials there finding no evidence of widespread fraud, from the Washington Post. Support is growing among Texas Republicans for a push to audit the results of the 2020 election in a state that former President Donald Trump won handily. But the proposal introduced in the House earlier this month would only re-examine votes in Texas's largest counties, most of which went for President Biden. The legislation, House Bill 241, calls for an independent third party appointed by the state's top GOP officials to conduct a forensic audit of results in counties with more than 415,000 people. Now, folks, of the 13 counties that meet that criteria, 10 voted for Biden last year. Texas is already home to one of the major flashpoints in the fight for voting rights. Democratic state lawmakers there fled their state earlier this month to block the passage of a new restrictive voting bill and are now in Washington lobbying for federal legislation. But in the nation's capital, things are at a standstill. With Republicans unified in their opposition, any federal legislation remains impossible without reforming or removing the filibuster, which is what many Democrats and voting rights advocates are calling for. But they're disappointed in what they feel is a disparity between President Biden's words and his actions. The New York Times reporting, voting rights groups say that Mr. Biden is not expending sufficient political capital or using the full force of his bully pulpit to persuade Congress. They point to the contrast between his soaring language, Jim Crow on steroids, he has called the GOP voting laws, and his opposition to abolishing the Senate filibuster. Ultimately, the advocates fear that the Biden administration, currently focused on a bipartisan infrastructure deal and an ambitious spending proposal, has largely accepted the Republican restrictions as baked in and is now dedicating more of its effort to juicing Democratic turnout. The debate over how to combat the continued assault on our democracy is where we start this hour. Joining us now, the Reverend Al Sharpton, host of MSNBC's Politics Nation and president of the National Action Network. Also with us, Tara Setmayer, former Republican strategist, former senior advisor to the Lincoln Project, and now a resident scholar at the University of Virginia Center for Politics. And Neil Katyal, former acting U.S. Solicitor General, now a Georgetown University law professor and MSNBC contributor. Welcome all. Rev, let's start with you, my friend. As the New York Times mentioned last week, we heard the president call these new laws Jim Crow on steroids. And then on Wednesday night, he defended the filibuster. So I don't know about you, but how do you reconcile these two comments?
You know that about 2 weeks ago, we met with the president, leaders of 8 national civil rights groups, and really wanted him to, one, use his bully pulpit to speak, which he did do the following Tuesday, and I was there. And we pushed on the filibuster. He said to us, One, that he was not there yet on the filibuster, and he did not know if we had the votes to change the filibuster. So we then said, well, the challenge is what Congressman Clyburn has raised is, can we do a workaround the filibuster? Our objective is to make sure that we can get voting rights voted by the Senate in a majority vote. They do that in other workarounds. Mitch McConnell has done it in other workarounds. Let's do the workaround, and that's where we're trying to put pressure on now. And we came out of that meeting at the White House saying there was going to be various groups, including ours, that were going to be doing civil disobedience rallies, culminating in the March on Washington, August 28th, that Martin Luther King III and Andre King and I called. And I think that you're going to see that all summer long, pushing for the work around the filibuster if there is a required amount of votes that you need to stop the filibuster, which there's a debate on whether you need 60 votes to even change it. But the filibuster has a history of being used for anti-civil rights, anti-voting rights techniques. It is a Jim Crow method. It should be abolished either way, but we should do the workaround to save us from the fact that right now states are changing laws. We cannot wait, and we cannot in any way act as though that as time is moving on, that we're not being disenfranchised in states every